Hi there. Do you know about God's will? Or do you know where you stand in His will? Well, if you don't, I encourage you to stay with me for the rest of this video, and I believe it will be a blessing to you. It's beautiful how God plans and perfectly orchestrates everything for each one of us in this world. But do we know where we stand in this beautiful, perfect plan of His? Well, to explain that, I want to share 3 points or 3 categories of where we stand in God's will. The first one is called God's perfect will. And the most beautiful example that I can give for that is Jesus Christ coming into this world and dying for all of mankind and giving the hope for all of humanity through His sacrifice on the cross of Calvary. The second category, or the second part that I want to share, is God's permissible will, or the things that God allows in our lives, the desires that we have, which may or may not sometimes be in His perfect plan. A classic example of God's permissible will is Ishmael that Abraham bore through Hagar. God's perfect plan for Abraham was Isaac through Sarah, but Abraham, he did something else. He went a little away, he diverted a bit, and the outcome was Ishmael, and we see what happened after that throughout the generations that followed. And the third part is something that I don't want any of us to be in, and it is against God's will. A good example, or I would say a bad example for against God's will, is Jonah. God asked Jonah to go to Nineveh, whereas he took the boat to Tarshish. So in all these 3 categories, we see how God's plan was executed in His perfect will, in His permissible will, and when someone went against His will. And it's important for us today as well in our walk with the Lord to see where we stand in His will. Are we doing things according to His perfect will, or are we bringing our desires in to do something our own way? Or are we standing against His word and saying, no, I will go the exact opposite direction? Well, Paul writes here in the book of Ephesians chapter 5 verse 17, therefore, do not be unwise, but understand what the will of the Lord is. It's very clear, and it's very important for each one of us to know what is God's will for us. And it's important for us to know what is His perfect will for us. Yes, God allows things in our lives because of His abundant mercy. But there's always something beautiful when you stay in God's perfect plan. It's still the first month of this year, and I know that we have a lot of plans for the rest of the year. But I want to encourage you today to sit down for a moment to think and see if the things that we have planned is according to His will, according to His perfect will, or if it is His permissible will, or if it is against His will. I hope it's not the third one. I pray and encourage you to ask God before doing something, before taking an important decision in your life, whether it is big or small. Ask the Lord, stay in His perfect plan. When Jesus stayed in God's perfect plan, you see what happened? All of humanity today, until this very moment, have this beautiful hope of salvation. When Abraham did a blunder, God allowed it, but there was a consequence. When Jonah went against God's will, there was again a consequence, and it took a while for him to come back again to God's perfect plan. So my friend, where are you standing today in the will of God? Ask yourself this question, and I believe that the Lord will minister to you through His word. Do share this video with someone if it was a blessing to you and you have a Christ-centered, blessed week ahead. Take care. God bless you. Bye-bye.